And straight away, we take you to Parliament for our first story, in which the Majority Leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, has assured the Right to Information Bill will be laid before Parliament today as the House prepares to go on a break. He, however, says Cabinet was yet to give full approval for the RTI bill to be sent to Parliament for the purpose of the consideration. And the Majority Leader says a Cabinet subcommittee rather gave the approval. He says the real approval by Parliament as a whole, or Cabinet as a whole, will be given at a Cabinet meeting on Wednesday.
I can assure you that it will service in Parliament. As Cabinet looked at it, the subcommittee looked at it and approved of it. They sent it to Cabinet. The Cabinet is meeting today on that. So after its approval and it's sent for gazetting, assuming it's sent for gazetting tomorrow, we have to wait for the stipulated time to mature before it comes to Parliament, right? Which is why, if we have to wait for that time, Parliament would have recessed. So, in this state, the state that it is in now, it will be introduced in Parliament. But then, as you do know, this is not a bill that can be considered under a certificate of urgency and be completed in one day.
So if Cabinet had given approval for it already, then why will Cabinet be looking at it again today when they hope?
I said it's Cabinet subcommittee. The subcommittee has looked at it, and Cabinet is meeting today at 3 p.m. So the final thing will be done, and then if the coast is clear sign is given, it will then have to go to the Assembly press for gazetting tomorrow. But if it does go, it can't then come to Parliament.
Sure. So the earlier approval was actually by a Cabinet subcommittee, not by Cabinet.
A Cabinet committee, okay. I should say.
And it's today that we'll see Cabinet itself then give the approval.
Well, we've been on this for quite some time. A few issues, but I think that the important thing is that into next meeting, certainly, whatever it takes, the bill will be passed.
But just briefly, what are the contents?
And the opposition National Democratic Congress has called on government to immediately withdraw the military cooperation agreement laid before Parliament for ratification. Well, the party wants further consultation on the matter before Parliament takes any step to give the agreement that has generated public uproar legal backing. They insist the agreement surrenders Ghana's sovereignty to the United States of America. The NDC General Secretary, Johnson Esiedun-Ketia, addressed a press conference in Accra.
Under the agreement, there could be surveillance of our private communications, and the government of Ghana will be powerless to check it. This is betrayal of the fundamental freedoms of Ghanaians. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana is a leading member of the African Union and ECOWAS. We should never abdicate our responsibility to prevent the use of our territory for conduct of activities that may constitute breaches of the sovereignty of our African brethren with whom we truly have shared interests. Ladies and gentlemen, the indecent haste with which the President is going about the proposed agreement is very worrying. Is it because of the promise of aid that has been dangled before him? And will that aid compensate for the loss of our sovereignty, turning Ghana into a client state of the U.S. and the inherent dangers? Our answer is a big no. As a party, we shall stand up for what is right, for what is in the larger national interest. We shall be active citizens, proud of our heritage, won for us through the toil of our forefathers. Ghana must not batter away fundamental tenets of our sovereignty. We demand that the MPP government of President Akufo-Addo withdraw the agreement, reflect on it while engaging the broad spectrum of Ghanaians on our long-term security interests.
And Mr. Esiedun-Ketia is giving all indications that a next NDC government will suspend this agreement if government uses its majority in Parliament to ratify the compact.
Terrorism. We wish to state here and now that if President Akufo-Addo and his MPP administration proceed to ratify the agreement, despite all protests and public sentiment, the NDC administration, which will assume the reins of government in 2021, will suspend the agreement and initiate a far-reaching review of its provisions. Ghana first is our policy. Let us state clearly that no amount of aid can compensate for the loss of sovereignty which is implicit in the proposed agreement. This should be the basic premise of President Akufo-Addo's own mantra, Ghana beyond aid. Ladies and gentlemen, Article 14 of the proposed agreement constitutes a threat to the privacy of Ghanaians as enshrined in our Constitution. The agreement as it stands allows U.S. Armed Forces personnel and U.S. civilian military contractors access to the use of our radio spectra at no cost to them and without oversight by relevant regulatory bodies in Ghana.
And we'll bring you a lot more as we do discussions on this. But let's move on. Dispatched some 7 months ago to drive away small-scale miners from various mining sites across Ghana, it appears the Operation Vanguard team has chalked little success of saving water bodies and the environment from pollution. In the following report, which is a precursor to our latest Hotline documentary, The Gold Burden, JoyNews Latif Idris found out that one of the heavily polluted water sources in the western region, the Butcher River at Dompim, has not seen much improvement a year into the ban.
There is River Bonsa, which passes through Bonsaso 1 and 2 at Dompim in the Takwan Suayim district of the western region. Like the other water bodies, River Bonsa 1 served as the only source of potable water for the people. Joseph Asante lives in a single-room self-contained along the edge of the river. In a 6x4 bamboo-made kitchen, he shows me a sample of the water he's fetched from the Bonsa River last week.
Right now, train line.
We are facing a serious challenge with the level of pollution Galamsey has caused to the Bonsa River. About 2-3 years ago, all the neighboring communities in Bonsaso 1 and 2 used the Bonsa River as the main source of potable drinking water. But Galamsey has changed the dynamics within the communities.
After all, so consumer crampa, Panada, and soon as a crow. But in the Mabian Coyenti, and I mentioned I poto into Yaya, which he was saying to Grandpa Rade.
At the last count, the Operation Vanguard team had carried out not less than 700 operations in the western, eastern, and Ashanti regions, where the team has forward operating bases to take the war to the defiant miners. About 1,060 rebellious miners have been arrested in the process, including foreign nationals, as explained by the spokesperson of the Operation Vanguard team, Squadron Leader Omani Ejeyi. He also tells me how difficult it has been for the Joint Police and Military Task Force to flush out the miners.
Have drones that can go high, about 7 kilometers, and then capture these illegal miners before we go to pursue them and arrest them. It will be very good for the operation because it will aid in the prosecution. You know, when you go to the courts, they demand for pictures. Though we have cameramen, but if we have drones that can capture these illegal miners, it will aid us in our operations.
Well, you should also be well informed that at the time of the ban, the minister had said some $3 million will be invested in drones for the exercise. Looks like that hasn't been done, but let's move on. The National Disaster Management Organization has charged the works departments of metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies across Ghana to work closely with residents in their respective areas to ensure houses are roofed properly. Deputy Director General in charge of technical for NADMO, Saji Amadonu, said this when he delivered relief items to the officials of the Zabzugu District Assembly for onward delivery to victims of a recent severe rainstorm that swept through 7 communities over the last week.
The relief items delivered included 20 packets of roofing sheets, 100 bags of cement, 50 mattresses, 150 mosquito nets, rice, 100 plastic buckets and 5 cartons of cooking oil. The support is relief for 7 communities affected by rainstorm that displaced over 2,000 residents, leaving many properties destroyed. District Chief Executive of Zabzugu, Ahmed Abubakar Idrisu, received the relief items on behalf of the Assembly for onward delivery to the affected persons of the rainstorm.
I also stand on behalf of Zabzugu District Assembly to express our heartfelt gratitude to you for responding to our plight when the thing occurred. 2 days ago, we've been with them in the field. Lo and behold, today, the items arrive in Zabzugu, and we are grateful that it will come to complement whatever Assembly has in order to do the distribution. From today, distribution will start henceforth. So we are very grateful.
Deputy Director General in charge of technical of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, Saji Amadonu, called for effective collaboration between work departments of metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies in the country and citizens to ensure proper roofing of houses to avoid storm.
We cannot say that disasters will not happen, but before it happens, our own lifestyle, the way we do things, we should make sure that it does not aggravate the situation anytime disaster happens, particularly the way we roof our buildings here. I think the Works Department should try as much as possible to look at how the communities go about roofing, if they can assist them to make sure that the bonding between the roofing sheets and the palings and the rafters are a bit stronger, so that it will take a much stronger storm to be able to cause a lot of havoc.
Hashmin Mohammed's report from Zabzugu, Northern Region.
The concerned citizens of Etiwa Landscape have presented a petition to President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo asking him to halt the mining of bauxite in the Etiwa forest. According to the group, mining activities in the forest could deplete its water resources and ultimately cause water insecurity in the future for the area. The presentation of the petition was a climax of a 6-day, 95-kilometer walk from the Etiwa forest to Accra to press home their demands. Definitely, that would have been an interesting walk. But that's it for the news. We have a lot more news. We'll be reviewing the newspapers, but also taking a look at what the stories on the various online portals. Know that we're going to have in the studio the Reverend Intim Forjo, a St. South Member of Parliament, and also the South Dye Member of Parliament, Roxanne Nelson, the farmer, who will be in the studio. And ultimately, we'll be discussing top on the agenda whether the concerns being raised by the NDC and its General Secretary through a press conference and the NDC minority in Parliament should be taken on board, all in the approval or not of that compact of establishing that close ties with the U.S. government over its military deployment in Ghana. We'll also look at other relevant issues, but no, today we're discussing sex. Mama View Swabwajo will be joining me and telling us the details about which part of the sex action, we're discussing. We're taking a break.